innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Applied Software. You're invited to join our MEP and construction innovation adventure with a mission to propel this great industry forward. My guest today is one of our favorite past guests, Angie Simon. You can go all the way back to episode 31 when she first appeared on Bridging the Gap. She is advisor to the board of Western Allied Mechanical and has been a leader in the construction industry for many years. Big welcome back to the show, Angie.
Thank you, Todd. It's awesome to be here again. And I can't believe, what number is this recording?
146,
wow.
I think is when this episode's going to come.
That's impressive. You guys have been doing this for quite a long time. Good job.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Great.
So going back to episode 31, one of the kind of standout moments from our first conversation was you talking about innovation and trying to break out of your routine. Do you remember back it was shortly after a lot of disruption had happened in the industry with COVID, to say the least.
Yes.
And so people were having to break out of their current routine, and you really kind of spun us in a direction to really focus in on the innovation that's happening in construction. So would love to kind of follow up on that and figure out just an update over the last couple of years of people going remote and people trying to figure that out. What's that been like?
Yeah, remember in that conversation, I think I talked to you about how I said routine is the enemy of innovation.
Yeah.
Because that's what we learn, is we learned really quickly that if you get comfortable with what you're doing, then you're just going to do the same old thing and you're not going to innovate. And the pandemic, actually, there's a lot of things terrible about the pandemic, but it also helped us a lot. To a certain degree, it really drove our entire company to paperless. And we really started innovating that way. We are slowly getting people back pretty regularly in the office, but we're being much more flexible because not everybody needs to be in the office every day.
Sure.
So I think that for us, that's been the culture fix, trying to figure out how to work the culture around people being in and out, not all there all the time, has been a challenge. But I do think our communication levels have been better because we do things like all hands meetings on Zoom, so that even our field folks who are 2 hours from the office and they finish their day at 3 o'clock, they can get on a 4 o'clock Zoom from home or whatever and listen to the all hands meeting. So the communication side of the innovation of the Zoom and Teams has been really great. We also continue, we're moving our shop, actually, the first time. I've been in that same building for 35 years, but we're in 4 buildings because we've outgrown our everything, and our shop is so crammed in everything. So we are moving our shop in about 3 months, and we have some great new machinery. Innovation wise, we've got a 3D welding machine for our pipe shop. We've got a beautiful laser machine now, and we just can't wait to innovate within our new shop, because now we can lay it out how we need to. We have a 110,000 square foot building. So we're really excited about how we're going to use innovation in that. We've been looking at new programs. I know there's a number of them that we're looking at right now. So I don't know if you want me to say them, but so I think it's really going to be exciting to see where we can go with the shop. The goal there is to be as productive and do as much prefab and modularization as we can in our shop to be able to deliver things to the field just in time when they need them.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Love hearing that. And you just finished your term as a SmackNet national president as well too. Any kind of standout moments and things that that experience really taught you?
It was a great experience. I'm now the immediate past president for SmackNet. I am the first ever 2-year president because of the pandemic. I didn't get to travel in 2020. I went in 2019 in October, and then more than half of my year was kind of disrupted. So they asked if our whole exec board would stay one more year. So we all did. So in the second year though, the end of 2020 and 2021, I did get to travel quite a bit. And it was very interesting going around to different areas, visiting different, SmackNet branches, shops, or their getaways, and having conversations with everybody. I think we all noted that working remotely was working, but people were worried about culture and how to make everybody feel welcomed when they're not always there. That was one of the concerns. Probably the number one concern going around the country was workforce development. How do we get enough people in our industry? Because everybody was pretty busy. I mean, the pandemic did not seem to affect the construction, at least on the MEP side, that much. We all seem to bounce back really well, and they're building buildings. And so I think there, everybody's a little worried. There's a lot of mega projects coming up in the United States right now, with some large battery factories being built, and server, data rooms and things like that for some of the different companies. So they're worried about getting enough people to be in the union. And we also have seen a lot of the retirement from the unions, so of the 55 or so above. So that was the number one probably concern when I went around the nation.
Yeah. So what's to be done with that? It's a huge problem facing the industry. And I know a lot of people talk about the skilled labor shortage ad nauseum, probably to some people.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what are some actual practical steps and application that the people can do to really address the problem? Because it's a problem and it's only getting worse.
It is. I'd say there's two things that can be done. And the first one I'll talk about a little bit, because I'm very involved with SMACNA and SMART, which is a sheet metal industry, in regards to during the pandemic and during the race, a lot of the race trials that we had during that time. There were a number of job sites that had nooses on their job sites, and everybody realized, wow, this industry really needs to pay attention to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So one of the things we need to do to make this industry a better place to work and get more people in it is to be more inclusive. We really have to work at being inclusive first, and then diverse after that. And so one thing would be, let's make this industry more welcoming, more inclusive. The other one is, we've got to somehow get the word out to the youth about what a great opportunity it is to work in our industry. You don't have to necessarily go to college to work in our industry. I mean, the trades are a wonderful place to be. In the California, of course, we always cost more and everything in California, but you're making six figures when you're a journey person in the trades. And if you're working 40 hours a week, you're making well over six figures, mid six figures. And it's just it's a great industry. Nowadays with technology, it's not nearly as physical as it used to be. So how do we get the word out? That's the key. And I actually, I kind of got tired of talking about it. And so my partner, he was our president at Western Allied, he and I were talking. He has 4 boys, and his oldest was at the time maybe 13, but he's just not super into school. But he took a welding class, an arts welding class in Oakland before the pandemic hit, and he loved it. So my partner, Zach, got him to go take some welding from our shop foreman in our piping side after work and after school. They stayed and did some welding. And it was amazing how much he loved it. And I said to Zach, we should run a summer camp, because we're right next to East Palo Alto, which is a very underserved area. And he goes, yeah, that'd be great, but I don't have time. And I said, well, you know what? I don't care that I'm busy. I'm going to do it. So I put a business plan together and presented it to my partners, told them I thought we needed to spend like 30 grand to have this camp. And to their credit, they all voted, yes, let's do it. And I was lucky enough, this was in 2020, lucky enough to mention it during our SMACNA virtual conference that we had that year, and on a roundtable about workforce development. And I had 2 partners jump in. My peer group member, Hermanson, up in Seattle, Rick Hermanson, and Jana, his daughter, who works with him, were very interested in joining and being part of that movement. And so was Western Washington SMACNA. And so we ended up forming the Heavy Metal Summer Experience Camp. And we had that in our shops in Seattle. They had 12 kids, and in the Bay Area, I had 16 kids, summer of 2021. And all my kids were from East Palo Alto. They were good mix of minorities. We have 1 white kid, and we had either brown or black. The rest were minorities, and Hispanic or black, and 6 girls. And it was 12 sessions. It was 6 weeks, and the kids just loved it. It was a great experience.
That's awesome. So what then really is the heavy metal summer heavy metal experience summer camp? Is that the official?
We call it's Heavy Metal Summer Experience.
Okay.
And so that was such a great experience for us to have that camp and to run the camp. And the kids, we had so many volunteers. A lot of our project managers volunteered. We had the kids come in, and we gave them an intro of safety the first day, but they come in from 2:30 to 5 when our shop hours were over. And then we had sheet metal and piping guys were volunteering to be instructors. They made a lamp out of copper pipe. They learned to solder and braze. We made a dustpan and a toolbox and a pooper scooper out of sheet metal. And they learned how they program things into the laser to cut things out. The kids, we broke them into 2 groups of 8 and 8, and they wore their safety glasses. The Milwaukee Tools stepped up that first camp, and they donated all the PPE. So we had vests with Milwaukee Tools and gloves. And then the Milwaukee Tools also gave them a tool bag with an impact drill and a battery and all kinds of tools to take home with them when they graduated. I also raised money that first year to get them Red Wing boots. So we had their Red Wing boot truck come by the first day. So they got safety boots. So we didn't charge anybody for camp. It was free camp for the students, and we gave them a lot of stuff to go home with. They got a couple t-shirts and boots and tools. The kids, it was just wonderful. The kids were so engaged and really loved it. And actually, since then, they were juniors, they were sophomore, juniors, seniors, but the ones that were eligible to work, there was probably about, between us and Hermanson, there was probably about 8 kids that were eligible to work. Mm-hmm. And we got, I think 5 or 6 of them are already working in our trades. So I have one of them. Yeah, I have one of them.
That's good odds.
Yeah, they were super interested. So we decided to put a playbook together. When the camp was over, we put a playbook together to try to explain everything we did, because we'd like to encourage other contractors or training centers, for example, to go ahead and run the camp. So we put together, every liability form, every release form, our permission slips, we did a chronicle of what we did each day, and we gave them everything we could. And, an 80-page, 90-page playbook we put together. And we started telling people the story. We have a video about it we have now since then incorporated its heavy metal summer experience into a nonprofit. And we have a website, hmse.org. So last summer, the first summer we had 28 kids. This summer we have 11 locations across the United States, and we have 180 kids.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Just in 1 year, that growth. That's awesome. So are more partners then coming into play and really taking up that mantle?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple key ones. DeWalt also stepped up. So the nice part with 180 kids is I needed 180 tool bags. Yeah. So Milwaukee and DeWalt are sharing that. We assign different camps. One's a Milwaukee camp, one's a DeWalt camp. So we appreciate that partnership greatly. We also have for example, Procore has stepped up, and they've donated 20 grand for us to cover the boot costs for the kids in the camp across the nation. We've got Mestech Machinery stepped up and donated money for us to build the medals, the graduation medals that we make out of stainless for the kids. And we've got, SMACNA and MCA both have stepped up and donated money to us and helped. And then the biggest one is Black & Decker Stanley has a grant program right now. They know how important workforce development is, and last year they set aside $25 million to give out over the next 3 years to help with workforce development. So we applied for the grant and got a fair amount, $140,000 to help us incorporate and start this nonprofit. And the intention is to hire a person. Right now I'm kind of playing that role, but I have a lot of help with other people too. So, but there's been amazing amount of partners that understand how important it is to get kids into the trades. Our unions are also been a great partner as well, both the sheet metal and the piping.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if people are listening and want to lend their helping hand, how do they get involved in it?
Well, I would say the easiest way is I reach out on our website, which is at hmse.org. And I've got an email address on that website. That's the only email is me. It's angie.simon@hmse.org. But we can certainly, particularly if you're interested in running a camp. The other thing is if you are like, for example, a nonprofit that has kids, high school age kids that you want to get into something like this. We've been working with the Boys and Girls Clubs. In East Palo Alto, we have a group called Live in Peace that has been wonderful, but they focus on East Palo Alto kids. But there are many different types of foster care system, big brothers, big sisters, where anywhere we can get the kids, we can get them from schools too, but the nonprofits seem to be a little more used to this. They really want to get these kids need, attention. And I think they focus on it, and they've been a great partner for us. So we are looking for finding kids as well as, in different locations, but I currently have camps in one in Massachusetts, one in Boston area, one in Alabama, one in St. Louis, and then 2 in LA, 4 in the Bay Area, and 2 in Seattle. But I have
That's awesome.
a lot of,
That is pretty spread out
it
across the
is.
country.
It is, and I have, but there's a lot of areas that I know that want to run camps next year, and I'd like to get them, camps in Atlanta and Minneapolis, and there's a lot of areas I'd like to get in New York area. We'd to get some more camps. So
awesome, and thanks for calling out Atlanta. I'm gonna shame my fellow Georgians here. Come on, let's step up.
Actually,
let's
you know
get a
what?
camp here in Georgia.
I'm pretty sure I got a call from RF Knox is my peer group, and his son works for him now, and John Allen called me and got the playbook, and they're very excited about doing it next year. So we got to get some.
Good.
We need some in Atlanta. That would be good. So
yeah. So getting the hands-on experience, I think that's huge. Because with shop class being taken out of schools, where do high schoolers go to get what is actually happening in the trades, or to even know that that's a possibility and an option out there for them? What have you seen the high schoolers really kind of resonating to and getting excited about when they're getting that hands-on exposure in these camps?
The interesting part is a lot of them just say they've never even knew about this. They enjoyed making the different projects that they were doing. They go, well, we never even heard about this. I think it's really the best kept secret. I mean, unfortunately, I think back when I was a kid, which was a long time ago, but there was shops in high schools. You could do auto shop or wood shop, and at least you learned what a hammer was and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
And these kids just don't get that nowadays. So it talks about how, we talk about how you can build a foundation by working with your hands and learning these things. You also go through your apprenticeship while you're working. So you're actually getting paid, you're working, and you're going through the apprenticeship. And sometimes they're evening classes, but a lot of times they're like 2 weeks at a time. And then so you're working for an employer, they let you off for 2 weeks, and you go on unemployment for 2 weeks, you take the apprenticeship, you come back, and you do that 3 or 4 times a year. So that the learning side, not a lot of heavy lifting, it's focused.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that the kids are finding that it's a lot more fun than they ever expected. And it's a great experience for them. But it's also important that they learn what they don't like. And not every kid that was eligible to work even wanted it. There was a couple kids that said, this was great, but this is not for me. That's what we want, because Todd, the average age of a kid getting into our sheet metal apprenticeship right now is 27 years old.
Wow.
They roam around and don't know what they want to do with their life, and they finally realize around 27 they want to get in the apprenticeship. Boy, if you get in the apprenticeship at 18 or 19 instead, how much more your pension plan, you save for your retirement and everything. And you can be, by the time they're 27, they've been a journey person making great money for at least 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
I think moving that forward, that decade, that's huge for sure. That's awesome. We talk a lot about on the bridging the gap and just in the industry, kind of the misperception and the negative kind of stigmatism and looking down on the trades. But what I was thinking when you were talking about that they just don't even know is maybe it's not necessarily as much of the misconception, negative perception of the trades now, as much as it is just total ignorance. Of just not even having, it's not on anybody's radar at all. They don't have a positive or a negative. They just don't know about it.
I think that's the way it is for the kids, for the youth, for the under 30. I think they just don't know about it.
Yeah.
I think we're still dealing with the bad perception side of it with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to teach the parents is that it's not what you remember or you think. It's not like you're always working in the mud and the dirt and the cold and there is so many different opportunities within the industry that you can go so many different directions. And with technology today, we need people who know technology, and these kids nowadays are growing up but they're born with something like an iPhone in their hand practically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to know the technology. They're going to be able to help us with that. So I think that's the important part, is that getting the kids to know about what it is, because I'm afraid all those kids at that age want to go be video game designers, and but there's not enough jobs for that. And we in the camp try to have, we talk about piping, we talk about sheet metal in our camp, and we talk about service and how you can take care of units. Mm-hmm. We show them what detailing is, which is drawing in 3D. We try to share all of that so that they can see all their different opportunities. There's, air balance and testing, for example. I mean, there's a lot of different things they can do in the industry. And people, when you think of a plumber, I mean, the perceptions are usually not the best. And if they only knew, I mean, our plumbers are doing things, our plumbers and fitters are doing things like, high pressure, high, like labs, and they're doing, CDA and good, they're doing great, interesting stuff in labs. And it's not just plumbing and washing, putting a snake down a toilet.
Right, right. So leaning into the parental angle of it, did you have to, go about convincing a lot of parents to expose and send their kids to the camp, or was that not really a part of this whole process?
Well, I think because we worked with the nonprofit in our area, they know those kids needed direction, so they pushed those parents to get the kids in there. I will say that one of the things that helped in our first camp and is really great is the lady that is the director of the Live in Peace. She said many parents need those kids to work during the summer. So she said, so they're not really high on them going to a camp, even though it's all free and they get all this stuff, because they need to work. So she went to a supporter of their nonprofit, a developer who's very high on the trades, and she got that developer to donate $1,000 per kid. So he donated $16,000 for our camp, and they got a stipend. So every time they'd show up, they got money, and by the end, they got $1,000. So the parents, it was a win-win. The parents were like, okay, go ahead. But then we got them all to come to graduation, and we had speakers, and we talked about, and we had a huge barbecue. And so the parents came out, and I think their eyes opened up a little bit when they heard the speakers talk about the opportunities. And, my superintendent, he started at Western Valley 2 months after I did, and I've been there 35 years now. And he's worked at the same place for 35 years. And, they think about, you're not going to be unemployed a lot as a construction worker, but most of my field have been with us for a long time, and they're hardly ever unemployed. I mean, even then we keep them busy all the time. So, there was one young lady whose mom was this is up in the Seattle area, but her mom was a housekeeper and her dad's a landscaper. So they're both pretty blue collar. And partway through senior year in high school, she started getting a little bit depressed because she didn't know what she wanted to do, and she didn't really want to go to college, and she didn't feel like she could be successful at college. So her mom said she was just not her daughter anymore. She was getting really depressed. She got into our camp, and her mom at graduation came up and was telling the story about that. She's got her daughter back now, and she started crying, thanking us for having the camp. And her daughter's now been working for Hermanson up there in Seattle for almost a full year. And
that's awesome.
I mean, and it changed her life. I've got videos of her driving the forklift and she works in the shop, and she does a lot of the material handling and everything else. So that makes, if I can save one kid every summer, and we're doing more than one kid, if we can save one kid every summer and get them into our trades and help their life, I mean, it's worth it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we go about, as an industry, really kind of locking arms and getting that message out to people that haven't heard it?
Well, first off, I felt kind of strongly that as a union contractor, many of our contractors say, well, it's the union's problem to get us manpower or people power, whatever you want to call it. And I don't agree with that. I think we all need to be involved in it. And so finally I said, guys, stop looking to the union for this. Let's be a partner with them, because they can't, I mean, we can offer so much more as a contractor to share this idea. Next summer, we would also like to get the electricians involved in our camps, because we'd like it to be the MEP trades. So I actually spoke to a couple electricians in our area, and maybe we'll add one more week to the camp. So 2 more sessions, and we'll add 2 sessions on electrical and have them come into our shop and teach electrical. But I've also been contacted by, I walked a guy around yesterday I let him tour our camp, and he's in the concrete and underground and trenching. He does all of that. And he goes, wow, this is great. I had to figure out how to do this for me. And then I've got a couple of general contractors that contacted me, but I said to him, if you got to make your camp for what you guys do, not what we do. But I like the fact that we're getting the word out. And that's, I'm trying to post on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And the other key right now is I think we need to post some videos on TikTok, because that's where we're going to get the kids. So
that's true. You got to go to where they are. I mean, that's
right.
Marketing 101 there, but you gotta go get in front of them reach them
Well,
where they are.
our group, we're working hard at this. We have been overwhelmed at the amount of support and desires to have these camps and the attention we've gotten. We really didn't expect it to take off. So my guess would be next summer, we might be 20 to 25 camps and 400 kids. And so it's so exciting, but it's a little overwhelming. So I'm working hard on trying to get us maybe hire a full-time person and get this thing rolling even more. But
well, it just shows the hunger and the desire that is truly out there. People are interested in wanting to know more about it, even if they don't know that they are right now.
And I think getting our counselors in high schools on board with the fact that there are other options in college is going to be important as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, there's a lot of ways to hit that. I know the unions have been working on that. I think what we need to do is I've been trying to get, like, for example, there's a high school here in our area that is the continuation high school. So, typically if the kids don't make it from the main, they go to the continuation high school. Their principal came to our graduation last year and was just thrilled that we were doing this, because he goes, we have a lot of great kids. They just don't have the desire or opportunity to go to college. And he goes, this is giving them a career. So yeah,
absolutely. So what makes you so passionate about the trades?
I love the industry. It's been 35 years at Western Allied, and additionally 1 year before that. And I see what the trade, one, it's great to be able to say, I built that. That's fun, because I'd be able to go drive around a building and say, that was my building. I've been in it long enough now that I've did that building and I'm redoing that building now. that's kind of make me
still my building.
Yeah. But I just think it gives everybody such an opportunity. I'm real proud of the work that we do in the trades and the quality of the work we do. I think it's a great career. I wish, we need to focus on making that career a little more diverse. And that's why working with the underserved areas is great, because we're going to get some more diversity into our trades. When you ask our apprentices how they came into the industry, 95% is word of mouth. And a lot of times it's your cousin or your nephew or your niece. So that's why getting the word out about the trades is important, so we can get other people to understand how great a place it is. And my push has been to make it a more inclusive place. I was kind of a unicorn in that, as a woman coming through, and ended up being president and CEO of a $100 million company, was a mechanical company. Particularly, you didn't see that very often. But boy, right now you look at our company and how diverse we are and how many women we have involved and different diversity. It shows that you can do it, that you can have a very diverse company. And I think it helped a little bit for me to get around the nation and talk to different contractors, but it's going to be a slow process, but I think we'll get there. But we have to embrace the next generation, and we have to figure out how they think and how we want to get them involved in this, and tell them the best kept secret is the trades, and we got to get that word out. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we seek to start landing the plane here, I'd be remiss if I don't bring up innovation with you. When does innovation move from the buzzword side of things to really being practical in your mind?
Oh, I would say in my own company right now, we have our DNA, and I think I might have mentioned this last time. We have 3 statements that make us up our DNA, and it's dedicated to teamwork, grounded in care, and driven by innovation. And for us, if we're not innovating, we're looking for new ways to do things constantly. And actually, with a lot of the contractors around, I think they're realizing that they have to. I don't think they have any choice at this point. If they don't start embracing some of the changes that are happening, they're just not going to be in the industry anymore. So,
right. Well, it's a different industry than what it was even 10 years ago. It's
absolutely
radically changed.
My first job before I came to Western Allied, so 36 years ago, we were super excited because we got a fax machine. So that's, I've seen an awful lot of change in the industry along the way, but the vast majority of the change I've seen is in technology and innovation. And wow, it's amazing. I love to walk around the shop and see how unique and innovative. Even just our welding machine that for the piping, and how quickly it can weld it on 3D access and everything. And then it's just amazing watching it. And it makes us better, faster, smarter, and less physical for everybody in the shop and the field. And I think we can communicate easier. The one challenge is we have to be able to turn off innovation at night sometimes. And I think that is,
that's just tricky.
Yeah,
that is the trick.
That is a little bit of a challenge. More so for me probably than other people, but yeah, so but it is great. I think that we all realize that where the next step is that to be competitive in the industry, we're going to have to use innovation, and I'm excited about it. There's a lot of great stuff. Every time I sit on a panel or a group, I mean, I learn about new things. You've got Dusty Robotics, which is a little robot that drives around the job site and lays out the floor and lays out the walls and does it off of your 3D BIM, and it just drives around by itself. It's really amazing. Seeing that, or you've got, I think there's a robot that comes around and puts in marks all your hangers and stuff. I mean, it's just pretty impressive what we can do in the industry now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how do people find out more information and connect with you?
So probably the best way right now is to go ahead and go to my Heavy Metal Summer Experience website. I'd like them to visit that. I mean, we do have the video on there, and you can check out what we're doing on that. And that website's the HMSE.org. So Heavy Metal Summer Experience.org. So HMSE. That's how we get hold of me there. I'm still working at Western Allied part-time. But I think that's probably the easiest way to get hold of me. And I am still immediate past president of SMACTA, but that will be over here soon too. So hopefully I can focus on heavy metal. So
awesome. And we'll make sure to link over to that in the show notes for everybody. So final question for you. What does innovation mean to you? It means
changing our industry. I mean, it means keeping our industry relevant and current and moving forward with what we're doing. I call it change, and innovation is change. And if you're not changing, you're not going forward. So we always need to be looking at innovation. I think super excited where we're going with it. And I think, don't get bored, go look for the next innovation. Look for the next program that'll help your computers. Look for the next device that'll help your shops. I mean, just keep your eyes open because it's always worth looking for. So.
Awesome. Well, Angie, thanks again for taking the time to come back on the show and for all you're doing with heavy metal. I think that's awesome. I love hearing that, Camp, and proud to get the word out there and help direct people to that anytime.
Yeah. Thank you,
Great
Todd,
work.
for letting me tell that story, because it is exciting and we really want to get more people involved. We would like to motivate more people to think of ways outside of the box to sell the industry to what a great industry it is. So let's just share that, because it is a great industry. So
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to end it as well too.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Todd.